This is Andi Purewal for ID Boxing. We're here in Liverpool and I'm joined by trainer Joe McNally. Joe, firstly, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
I'm all good. Obviously, I appreciate you having us up here at the gym today. Good to catch up with the guys. Liam Smith getting ready for his ring return on September 3rd. Hassan Mwakinyo, the man in the opposite corner. Just talk to me about how you guys ended up with Hassan as an opponent.
Well, basically, they give us a list to select from. It was meant to be a test, but not too tough a test, and also not a walk in the park. Hassan is obviously, as you know, a dangerous opponent for Liam. He's got his good attributes and bad attributes, but we decided there was a few southpaws thrown in and stuff like that, and it was, Hassan brings dangers to the fight, but we selected him on the basis that he was the best opponent available at this time for Liam to fight. So
people will remember Hassan from the Sam Eggington fight, mostly from that shock upset victory a few years back. Is he the same type of fighter from what he was back then, the same type of kind of aggression you expect to see him like?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's the confidence he got off the Sam Eggington fight, it exploded through the roof for him, especially back in Africa, in Tanzania, which I know well. But I do, watching him and studying him, I do think that he has improved since the Sam Eggington one. I don't know, I think Sam sort of underestimated him to a certain extent too, but look, he can punch, he's a puncher, he's wild with his shots, he's got a little bit cuter with them, so he carries that danger in any fight that he's in, Hassan.
You've previously worked with Hassan, granted for only one fight, Joe. Just talk to me about kind of your knowledge of him and working with him.
Yeah, well, it's a kept secret for this camp, and a lot of people don't know. I've just noticed with yourself. I was Hassan's coach. I had him in Liverpool for, I think it was 8 weeks, and we fought in Kenya. I had a WBC woman champion at the time as well, and I know him very, very well. I know, what makes him tick, what doesn't. Now, I will put it out there. I think he's improved. He's had a couple of okay wins. After the win he had with myself, he got a good TKO victory with myself. But I've got a close-up and personal. I know what he's about, and he can punch the kid. He's gifted. He has got gift. He's a gifted fighter. It's a dangerous fight, and Liam has got to be nothing short of his best to be victorious in this. Which hence he's leaving no stone unturned in camp. He's training his balls off for it. So I'm happy with the fight, but it's good to know that I've got an opponent as well. As much as I can study and the progression he's made since he's been with myself, I do know what he's about.
When Liam signed with Sky, a lot of people had assumed the Eubank Jr fight was going to be very close to kind of being in the frame for Liam. That's not the case. Obviously, we're going to Eubank Jr-Benn in October, but we'll come on to that. But for Liam, what is the plan? Is the Eubank Jr still a part of it, or?
Yeah, well, obviously I've got my coaching duties to do. He's collaborating, obviously he's with Sky and Boxer now, and he's got his own management group that he deals with. So, he'll discuss the opponents with myself, and I was absolutely over the moon when they proposed the Eubank fight. I literally stated, that's fine, you move up a couple of pounds to 157, Chris comes down to 1.5, drops 3, we meet halfway. Chris wanted the fight, I think it was 158, stating he couldn't make 157. Now we're fighting Ben at 156. We know we can. Look, money talks, but I think that fight, if Eubank comes through it with Ben, if they don't have a rematch, if there's not any clauses or stuff like that, I think that fight could still be available for Liam. Definitely, he hasn't got many dance partners, Chris, and him and Liam. So I don't think Chris really fancies the fight with Liam. No, I don't think it might not be it gets his fires burning in his belly, he can get up for it and stuff like that, which is essential this part of his career, hence the same as Liam also. So but that can still be there, but there's a few options for Liam. I think the best thing we can wait for and hope for is Tim Tszyu and Charlo. They fight, see what happens with that. The belts could fragment, he could move up, Tszyu might win, can't keep his mans and Tories. It's just recently happened with Josh Taylor. You know, we had the division wrapped up. Now it's fragmented. Hence, he's still the best in the division. But, you know, it's a waiting game, really, isn't it?
What would you rather see next for Liam? Would you rather see, say, a big domestic fight with Chris Eubank Jr. or maybe a final eliminator for a world title whilst he waits to see what happens with those belts?
Yeah, for my personal opinion, it's about, you know, Liam is on the twilight end of his career. You know, he's maybe got 18 months left in it. Then he's got a couple of fight contracts with Sky to be fulfilled. The Eubank fight's tremendous. It sells to the British public. Anything beyond that in Britain, who's there for Liam Smith? There is no one, really. You know, he's on the verge. If the belts come fragmented, there's 8 or 9, 10 dance partners that have got to fight for them belts. Some of them would be, you know, oh, the money's not good enough. Oh, I'm not travelling here. No. So Liam he's one of them dance partners. That's an option. Domestic-wise, I read there's a Billy Joe Saunders fight. If he's in the gym, he can make the weight. That sells, you know, they're both being there, seeing it, done it. They're at the same stage in their career, so to say. But bar Chris and Billy Joe, I don't think there's no one. And the eliminators are sort of, it's a flip end of the coin. You could get a kid like, you know, in Ismail Madrimov. He's had an handful of fights. It's a lose-lose. You know, I know he's up there with the rankings and that. He hasn't earned his stripes yet. As good as he is, he's a fantastic fighter. But at this stage of his career, why would Liam Smith, you know, unless it was for the full world title, why would he fight him? It doesn't make sense. But, you know, I've got uttermost faith in Liam, Sky and his management group to come up with the right fight.
Just before we move, well, as we move away from Liam, I just want to get your thoughts on that Eubank Jr-Benn fight now. It's at 157. Eubank Jr is not allowed to weigh more than 158.5, otherwise the fight will get cancelled according to Tony Sims, and for every pound he is over, there's a £100,000 fine. But just with that knowledge as well of the weights, how do you expect it to play out?
I don't know if Chris and Maximar's coming in 158.5. You know, I've just stated with Liam Smith, he wouldn't come any lower than 158. The money he's getting, would, you know, it's a shed load of money for me, for yourself. The money Chris Eubank's getting for the fight, would it affect him too much for £1.50 if it's going to give him a slight advantage? Is he going to go, well, there's the fine, there, you can have it? I don't know if they settled on a rehydration clause.
We haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I think Tony Sims is bang on the money. You know, anything above 158, then you might as well just say, oh, it should have been 160 then. So it's, you know, Tony's a wise old man in the game, and above 158, the fight's off, and I'm assuming there'll be a penalty to pay with that also.
Obviously, listening to you talk as well, Joe, how deep into conversations did a potential fight with Liam and Chris get them?
You know, the conversations between me and Liam as a coach-fighter thing, and it was sort of short, like, you know, because I never want to think too far ahead. At the end of the day, if he doesn't beat Hassan Mwakinyo, he isn't fighting no one. So, you know, I don't want to look Chris Eubank's like, okay, well, if he's being mentioned, you know, the talks went at a bit of an advanced stage. I think they were talking, it could have happened first, around October time, he's fighting Ben. But it was like, Liam, just let's concentrate on this first one first. Get this one out the way, you know. Concentrate on what's in front of us, and what will come after that, what will be a B. And that's where we got to, yeah.
And Joe, just get your thoughts on some of the other guys in the gym. Obviously got JJ Metcalf hanging around now. What is the latest with him on the back of his upset victory out in Spain against Caoimhin Agyarko?
Yeah, you know, the thing with JJ is we've sat down as a team, myself, Declan, James, and we spoke to his management group also. He's tied in off the win with Caoimhin. He's a matchroom fighter. He's under contract with Matchroom. But the path of life for James, you know, the man has had a terrible hard career. He come off for, you know, losses to Cheeseman, a close decision points, loss to Conway. And he was retiring. He was retiring out of sport. He was fed up. The fire had gone out of his belly. And then we teamed up again and had discussions for Caoimhin. He absolutely got peanuts to fight Caoimhin, but it was a risk reward. The reward was he should be European champion right now. Caoimhin vacated the European on a consensus that they wanted them to rematch Dylan Chirat. Dylan Chirat's retiring with an eye problem, I'm led to believe. But James should have been European champion now. You know, he's been Commonwealth champion. He should have been European champion. He's in the world top 6 with the WBA. The path I want to take for him, I want a good international name for him. You know, sort of, he's not as high as Liam in the independent rankings, but the WBA is. The belts come fragmented. James could end up possibly being one of them dance partners. You know, we're looking out around mid to end of November, hopefully. And then by the time Tim does, you think, let's see where the belts are. But I want a good name. I'm not interested in the domestic level for James. You know, he needs to earn out the sport. He's never been paid. And as much as I love the sport, it is a business also. He needs to be paid. But I want a good international name who's been there, son, a good dance partner for him over a 10, possibly if there's some sort of international bauble on the line, could be a 12. And, you know, push on from there then, but that's the route I'd like to take, because he's in the twilight too. He's 34 now, and that's what I want for him, you know, get a good fight, another good victory, and sort of bide his time the next, 5-6 months and see where he's at.
Thomas, Whittaker-Hart just kind of laid out across the ring apron there in the background.
Yeah.
What's the latest with him?
Yeah, well, with Thomas, you know, he's had a bit of a stop-starting career, which it's not really a secret no more, but he's had the worst start of his professional career to any fighter could wish for. He's had meningitis. On the meningitis, they discovered on his chest he had a cyst growing on his lung. He ended up having an operation, which Tony Bellew, possibly saved his life, getting him in for the operation. He had a full recovery program to go through. And he's 7-0 now. With Thomas, he's in a funny situation. The 7 fights he's had, he's only really had a structured camp for maybe 1 or 2 of them. He's always took fights on sort of, there's a slot on a card there in 2 weeks. So he's never, I don't think the public's really seen the best of him yet. He's only been, 50-60% in the fights. So he hasn't blew the public out the water yet. But he's a fantastic talent, and he gets a good structured camp, 7 to 8 weeks. He'll beat the best in the domestic division, including the champion also in the next 2 to 3 fights. But I want that camp with him. I want to see him with his full camp, giving him proper notice of fights and being more active instead of, he's sort of being, there's a slot on a card there, or be ready around this time. You cannot prepare like that, and that's what I want for him. And 2 or 3 fights, same as his old GB friend, Dalton Smith. It's a bit different. Thomas is a bigger man, he's a light heavy, but 8-9 fights, I'd like, sort of be looking British Commonwealth titles for the man, definitely.
You've had a new introduction to the gym announced today, Mr. Caoimhin Agyarko. Now he's somebody who is very much excited for public whenever he's for. I'm sure you're excited to work with him as well. Talk us about that move, how it came about, and what excites you about this partnership now. Yeah,
well, literally, first and foremost, he is a fantastic addition to the camp. You've not only got James in here, Liam, 2, world-ranked 154 pounders. The sparring is fantastic for him. But it's sort of, and I'd just like to say, I'm really excited to have him here. And, he's just working with him this week alone. He's a fantastic talent. And, I've got no qualms about him reaching his potential as long as he, stays grounded, focused, and lives the life, which, we will do. It come about really, I got approached a couple of weeks ago off his management group, Paul Reed, stating you're interested. He's been looking for the change from the gym he was in with Al Smith and Eddie Lamb, fantastic coaches. So the schooling he's had, his first 12 fights have been, second to none with Al and Eddie. And he sort of said, your name's in the hat, you're interested? I said, I'd be a fool not to. So he's come up here. He got his fight. He fought not too long ago against the Polish kid, and then he's come up here, settled in nicely, mate, and that's it. Off we go. He's a fantastic, and I'm really excited for him. You know, I think he can do big things in the sport, definitely.
Joe, you've had some great wins with Liam Smith since you started working together.
Yeah.
Big win for JJ.
Yeah.
Guiding Thomas Whittaker-Hart. You've had Caoimhin come up now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're starting to get the recognition in the pro game?
Yeah, you know, I couldn't give two fucks really about the recognition. You know, I'm not really bothered. I'll let the people decide that if you're a good coach or you're a bad coach. It's the same as this coaching journey. I never started out to be a coach. It just happened organically, naturally, and it's happened. You know, it's just the turn of events that I've ended up with the fighters that I've got. Recognition, you know, you'll have your. I'm not big on social media anyway. I use Instagram mainly to contact people for sparring or other coaches and stuff. But you know, it doesn't really bother me as long as my fighters are being active, they're living the life in here. My buzz is being in here with them, and then just on the night when they win is a bonus for me. You know, I'll admit if my fighters give me the respect and gratitude what I give them back, we all win. You can't beat the feeling. Anyone outside the camp, the general public or thing, yo, look, they keep the sport alive, turning up, paying the hard money for the tickets and this, that, but down to getting recognition out of anyone who I'm coaching, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it, and I'll just let the results speak for themselves.
I know you don't work with him, but you've obviously got Callum Smith in the gym as well, working with Buddy McGirt. He's getting ready to fly out to Saudi next week. Yeah. Just get your thoughts on how he's been looking ahead of his final eliminator.
Yeah, well, he has, first and foremost, it's been fantastic having Buddy, you know, one of the Hall of Fame fighter, you know, one of the best coaches in the sport, in my opinion. You know, he's very big into the fundamentals, you know, not reinventing the wheel, and it's going through a phase, I think, coaching. There's a lot of YouTube shit going on, all this fancy stuff and this, and, you know, the art of sport is getting lost, you know, which is, it's fighting, you know, and it's been a pleasure having Buddy here, and I think Callum is looking fantastic under him, I really do. I've had an eye in him, watching him sparring, you know, and speaking to Buddy and this, that, and the, I think he's going to go out there and put on a fantastic show. You know, the progression of Callum under Buddy has been brilliant. It really has, and I'm really excited for the big man. You know, he's knocking on the door for a world title right away at light heavyweight. I'd like to see where the next 10 months takes him. I really do.
How much kind of knowledge do you take away from Buddy and advice? Have you asked on him on certain things, and maybe sharing training techniques and what have you? I
wouldn't say, you know, I've had a few in-depth conversations with Buddy about what to take on. Everything Buddy says, every word, I take on board. I'd be a fool not to. You know, I haven't come into the game as a coach to be like, you know, oh, I'm going to be this superstar coach. And look, the minute I stop learning as a coach and listening is the minute I want to pack it in. I like to know the boxing inside out. You're always there for progression. Same as a fighter, 0.1% is massive. In coaching, in fighting, everywhere Buddy states down to, you know, your road work, your routines, your nutrition, your this, anything he says, I'll take on board. But as I do with anyone, if I find it valid and take it on, I'll take it on. If it's shite, I'll push it to the side. And I suppose anyone with the right mindset to do the same thing. But he's a book of knowledge, mate. He really is. And, you know, delve into this book, which I've had the pleasure of doing here. You know, it's not but going to be beneficial to myself and my own coaching career, definitely.
Just a final one before I let you go, Joe. Obviously next week out in Saudi, just to stick with that main event, Usyk-Joshua 2. What happens this time around?
You know, I'm really excited to see what Joshua turns up. I don't think, there's a lot of emphasis, you know, it come on to the coaching part of things. Joshua, where he's looking for this coach, he's looking for that. I think Joshua's main strength he's got to have in the fight is just not overthinking everything. The Southwards, you know, I see everyone saying he's got to be a bit more aggressive. He has, but look, there's a flip side of the coin to that also. He could walk into something that who's going to throw. So being super aggressive can backfire on him. I think he's just not got to overthink that southpaw stance, you know, who's playing with that lead hand and like an old cobra, putting him to sleep, and then the next minute, pop, he's touched them up and reset him. reset Joshua. Don't think he's got to put his CD on and make Usyk dance to his music straight away. Implement his physical size, power and strategy. And, you know, the first fight was, he got a lot of stick, but about him getting fatigued at the end and it was borderline stuff. But, you know, Usyk was marked up that Joshua had a lot of success in the first fight also. I think it's going to be a really close fight. I'm not going to sit on the fence. I think Usyk could pull the victory out on points. I don't think he'll stop Josh. I hope and pray Josh pulls it off and knocks him spark out, to be honest with you. But, you know, I do think Usyk could come away with a victory. That southpaw stance that he's mastered, the judging a distance, his time, and Usyk is a really fantastic fighter, and I just think Josh doesn't need to show him too much respect. Don't overthink, you know, getting outside of the southpaw foot and in, you know, just implement his own strategy, his own play. And he's under, is it Robert Garcia? Robert Garcia, you know, I'm assuming he's going to have the perfect strategy and game plan in play. And if Josh carries that out, he could be victorious. He could knock Usyk out, you know, the power he generates and his athleticism. He can get him out of there, he really can.
Right, Joe, we'll leave it there now. I'll leave you to crack on and enjoy the rest of your day. I appreciate you stopping and talking to us both. Thank you for speaking to me in ID Boxing.
Yeah, brilliant.